So, today we're going to dive into something pretty wild. We're exploring a really fascinating thesis from our source material that tries to connect the absolute cutting edge of theoretical physics with descriptions of paradise found in the Quran. Now, just to be clear, our goal here is to simply unpack this idea, to see how the argument is built, one piece at a time. All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll talk about the unseen worlds that might be right here in the room with us. Then, we'll start climbing what our source calls the dimensional ladder, building this complex idea step by step until we get to the very edge of reality itself. Okay, let's start with a really provocative idea from our source. The room you're sitting in right now, it's not empty. Not by a long shot. In fact, it's absolutely teeming with realities we just can't perceive. The proposition is that our immediate space is filled with entities and realities from two totally distinct realms. And here's the kicker. They're both completely invisible to our senses and, well, even to our most advanced scientific instruments.
So what the source does here is really interesting. It puts two types of unseen realities side by side. You've got the scientific unseen, things like gravitons, these theoretical particles that have to exist for gravity to work, but we've never actually found one. And then you have the religious unseen, beings like angels and jinns. The source uses this comparison to ask a fundamental question. If all these things exist right here with us, why can't we see them?
So, how does the source explain this invisibility? Well, the answer it gives is higher dimensions. And to really get our heads around this, we need to build the concept from the ground up, starting with, what a dimension even is. Right, so we all get the first three dimensions, yeah? Length, width, and depth. That's our world, the physical space we move around in every single day. But according to theoretical physics, the story is far from over. Our source explains these higher dimensions using this cool metaphor of a ladder. So the fourth dimension is time. Easy enough. But then the fifth dimension is the plane of all possible timelines. Think about it. A whole other reality where you chose coffee instead of tea this morning. The sixth through ninth dimensions are then imagined as these higher spaces that let you actually navigate between all those different timelines and universes. And finally, you reach the top of the ladder, the 10th dimension. It's this theoretical single point that contains everything. All infinities, every choice, every universe, every beginning and end, all collapse into one. So, if these other dimensions exist, what separates us from them? It's a great question. The source calls them veils or branes. And brain is basically just scientific shorthand for a membrane. And they act like these giant cosmic cell walls between different realities. And get this, one of the biggest veils separating us from everything else, it's our own biology. That tiny number you see represents the fraction of the entire electromagnetic spectrum, all light, that our human eyes can actually register. The rest is this hidden world of microwaves, X-rays, and radio waves passing right through us, completely unseen. So the source kind of breaks these barriers down into two main types. You have physical veils that we can actually measure, like the event horizon of a black hole, a literal one-way door in the universe. And then you have these non-physical veils, the ones described in religious texts, like the barzakh, which is said to be the barrier between the world of the living and the world of the dead. Well, this obviously leads to the next question. Can we cross these veils? And the source says, yeah, theoretically, but it's not about travel. It's not a journey. It's about something much more profound, transformation. See, the challenge isn't building a faster-than-light spaceship or some sci-fi portal. The real barrier is us. Our bodies, our DNA, our very atoms are all designed exclusively to exist in 3 dimensions. So to exist somewhere else, our physical essence would have to be translated to fit a completely new set of physical laws. And this is where the source brings in a really fascinating piece of text to illustrate this, a hadith. The source interprets the angel shrinking not as it getting smaller in size, but as it fundamentally changing its state. It was altering its higher dimensional form so it could become observable here in our 3-dimensional world. Okay, so all of that groundwork brings us to the absolute core of this whole idea. This is where the source proposes a specific method for connecting these really abstract physics concepts directly to descriptions of paradise in the Quran. It's called the 4th layer method. Basically, the idea is to go past the literal meaning, the historical context, and the philosophical lesson to search for a verse's secret, hidden mystery, or its cosmic parallel in the universe. All right, let's put this method into practice. Take a look at this verse from the Quran. It describes paradise as a place of, well, infinite fulfilled desire. Anything you could ever want. So using that fourth layer method, the source draws a direct line between this description and the 10th dimension. The argument is simple. A place of infinite fulfilled desire is a pretty perfect conceptual match for a dimension that theoretically contains every single possibility. Okay, now this one is really fascinating. It describes people in paradise getting fruit that looks familiar, like something they've definitely had before. But somehow, every single time, it's completely new. So, how does this connect? Well, the source interprets this as a perfect reflection of the 10th dimension's nature, where you can have countless parallel realities existing all at once. It's the same apple in form, but you could eat it a billion times and experience a billion different, unique tastes. Each bite literally unfolds a new reality. And how about this one? This verse just describes a state of observing, and the source asks a really key question here. When you're observing, which way are you looking? Up, down, forward, backward?
And the interpretation here is pretty mind-bending. It suggests this isn't about looking in a direction at all, because you're beyond our 3D constraints. It's having a viewpoint that is everywhere, all at once. Just like location and direction become unified and basically meaningless in the theoretical 10th dimension. So after laying out all these parallels, the source basically wraps up its argument. It suggests that the timeless, the limitless, the boundless nature of paradise described in the Quran is a really startling mirror to the theoretical attributes of the 10th dimension.
And this, right here, is the ultimate takeaway. The big idea is that maybe, just maybe, these ancient spiritual texts and our most advanced physics are actually describing the exact same ultimate reality. They're just using two very different languages. But it doesn't even stop there.
The source leaves us with one last truly mind-boggling thought. It comes from a Quranic verse that promises the people in paradise not just everything imaginable, but and with us is even more. So the question is, if the 10th dimension represents all of infinity and every possibility that could ever exist, what could possibly be even more than that? We're pushed to contemplate a reality that might just lie beyond infinity itself.